way long time ago, in 2006, I started a site called Copyblogger. That was at the very beginning of the content marketing revolution. So early we didn't know it was called content marketing yet. But I'm thrilled to be here. One of our main themes at Copyblogger back in the day during the height of the beginning of SEO was right for humans, not for robots. Now we're here to talk about creating content by robots. Come a long way, right? All right, so our first speaker to kick things off on the AI track is Julie McCoy, and she is the president of Content at Scale, and that is an appropriate title for what she's going to talk about today, which is how to 25 times your content production. Julie has written many books. She sold her agency for many millions of dollars, and I'm really interested in seeing what she has to say about how to use AI to effectively increase quality content production. So let's just go ahead and get her up here, Julie McCoy.
I had no idea I was going to be introed by the one and only Brian Clark. Can we give it up for him? So I'm thrilled to be here with you all today. Who's ready to hear about AI? Awesome, awesome. I know you are, Jordan. Your hand's like all the way up. All right, so we're going to talk about how AI can actually 25x our content production process without losing ourselves in the process. So let's just jump right into it. So I don't know if you know this, but we're living in a new age. And when I say new age, I actually mean we're living in a new age. So here's what that looks like. In the 80s, we had the digital revolution with the first computer. And then in the 2000s, we had the age of the internet. Now, in 2023, Bill Gates published something to his list, and he said we're actually living in the age of AI. And the CEO of NVIDIA backed this up. He said the same thing to his audience as well. We've entered a new age. So we're living in completely new territory. And it may feel like you're hearing about AI all the time, but the truth is only 14% of Americans even know what ChatGPT is. So we're still in super early days of this. So this is permission granted. You can explore this, even though it might feel completely new, or you might not be too sure what the heck is going on. So there was a study that IBM did that was pretty interesting. They studied 3,000 executives and 21,000 workers, and they found that 40% of the entire workforce is going to have to reskill in the next 3 years because of AI. And that's 1.4 billion people. So that's affecting a lot of people. If you've ever asked this question, what is AI? It's not a stupid question. I asked myself this. I work in AI only for a year. I didn't know what this field was at all a year ago, and now it's what I work in full time. So this is basically what it is. It's a machine's ability to perform cognitive functions that we normally associate with the human mind. So reasoning, learning, interacting with your environment, that's what AI is now doing, and it comes from machine learning, which is a form of artificial intelligence based on algorithms trained on data. And the thing is, it's gotten really, really good. We've had AI in existing tech with like Siri, Alexa, Google Translate, but we've never been able to actually interact with AI like a human, and that's what ChatGPT brought to us in November of 2022. And this is what the co-founder of Anthropic, which is an LLM based on integrity and values, really like this company. This is what he said: things that seemed impossible for AI to do just 2 years ago are becoming not only possible, but routine, normal for the AI to do. Things that seemed impossible. So I'll show you this in real life because these are walking robots. So it's a lot easier to actually see it in front of you. The LLMs you can't see, that's the software side. But in 2022, Tesla introduced their first iteration of the Tesla bot. This thing fell down when it walked out on stage. It collapsed. And people said, there were critics in the newspapers that said, this thing is more disappointing than the robot that Honda launched 20 years ago. And then a year later, with Tesla's next iteration of the Tesla bot, the Gen 2, we saw this thing do things like lifting weights, folding laundry, and breaking eggs. And I was actually editing my slides 2 nights ago. Oh wait, it's not there. Well, I edited my slides. Anyway, no worries. I'll tell you what happened. So this May, China launched the Astrobot. Has anyone seen this thing? Of course you have, Jordash. Stop raising your hand. And this thing is unreal. It can fold laundry, which I'm a little obsessed with, because if I can have a robot fold laundry, sign me up. So the Astrobot, we haven't seen it. We've seen footage released of it, so we haven't actually seen it yet. But what China has built is something that can fold laundry 5 times faster than the Tesla bot. This thing is incredible. So the capabilities in AI, we are able to replicate human reasoning, that's LLMs, that's the software side, and we're replicating human behavior. That's the robot side, the actual humanoids like Rosie in the Jetsons. So as of the 2020s, AI has actually surpassed humans. You see that black flat line, that's human performance, and all those other lines shooting above it, that's AI performance. So AI is in fact better than humans at many things. Okay, so let's do a litmus test. This is a lot of fun. I do this in all my trainings. How good is a human versus a robot? And how well do you know what robotic content looks like? You might be surprised. Okay, so I'm going to read 2 blog hooks to you. As I read them, try to ask yourself, is this a nuance of a human writer, or is this something that a robot would have written? Jordash, be quiet. Just kidding. You're allowed to vote. Because this one's tricky. I'd be interested to see what you say, actually. Okay, so here's the first sample, blog hook A. I'm going to read it. So think to yourself, could a human have written this or a robot? The phrase content marketing is often used as a catch-all definition for all the ways you promote your content strategy. But the reality is there are numerous content marketing formats, and each one has its own unique benefits. Knowing the different types of content marketing is important because it gives you more options in your digital marketing toolbox. Moreover, it's crucial to understand how to use each one effectively. Someone's yawning. That's how I feel too. Okay, sample B. Ever feel like you're screaming into the void with your email marketing? Crafting perfect emails, but they just tumble into the inboxes of a handful? You're not alone. Many think that creating killer content will automatically grow their subscriber list. If only it were that simple. Truth is, growing an engaged and responsive subscriber base needs a lot more. Okay, so which one, shout it out, A or B, which one do you think was written by the robots? A or B? B. Ooh, wow, you guys are good. Yes, that was 100% AI. And it was actually trained on my voice. I didn't edit a single word of that. And if you compare this with, I've been creating content for 10 years, Brian Clark was one of the first bloggers I followed 10 years ago. But if you compare this with all my humanly written content, it sounds just like it. It's identical. This is how I write. In fact, this follows a copywriting formula known as PASS. So you name the problem, you agitate that problem, and then you solve that problem. So this entire blog hook follows that specific pattern. It's been trained by AI. And the other thing about this, it's 100% original. None of this content has actually been written before. So AI nailed it. The other blog hook was 100% human, and I would say 100% terrible. It adds words like numerous and moreover, and it was just full of so much fluff. That was written a couple years ago. Okay, so let's actually talk about how you can save, that's not clickbait, up to 25 times the cost and the time of content. So a little bit about me, I think some of you know my story, but I ran a human writing agency for a decade, and I sold it in 2021. I like how Brian Clark said, many millions. That was great. When I saw GPT on the horizon, even though I knew AI was going to change everything, I didn't actually think it was coming for my job. I'm like, no, I'm safe. Robots aren't going to take my job. So, since I believe that, I was on stage saying this at Digital Marketer. I literally said, I was the first one in front of 7 speakers that day. It was a full workshop training day, and I was the only one saying this. ChatGPT had just come out 30 days prior, and so everyone was like, go AI. And I was like, don't go AI. Hire a writer. AI is garbage. So this was me a month later. The robots are better. Goodbye, human. I didn't say goodbye, human writers. I said adapt, human writers. But what made this switch? What made me go from completely anti-AI, which I was for all of 2022, to Let's adapt. AI is amazing. So I adapted, and I think it was Andrew Davis said we should adapt to not just adopt. And adopt is when you take and use something, but adapt is when you change your behavior around it. And that is what I did. But it took me a while because I didn't actually find an AI that solved these 3 points for me. And these 3 points that I needed to hit were pretty critical because I sell content. And that content goes on major publications, and it makes me a lot of money. So in order to hit those benchmarks, content has to actually meet these things. First of all, it has to be unique and original. It has to be good content. And ChatGPT just wasn't giving me that at all, no matter how many times I prompted it. I also needed content that could actually rank. And content that ranks has a ton of criteria. It has to be research-backed. It has to be good. It has to be long form, 2,000 to 3,000 words, sometimes 5,000. And it needs to have real-time research in it. If it's quoting old facts, you're never going to rank. And if you do rank, you'll get completely skipped by because nobody wants to see that garbage. So this is why I adapted. I actually found a tool. It's Content at Scale, of course. You can see it on our t-shirts. Our team's wearing the Straight Out of AI shirts. That's our slogan. Because the truth is, straight out of AI, you can have content so good, you barely need to edit it. It's all in the training and the tool that you use. So we'll talk more about that. But first, if you're asking yourself, well, can I use AI? Is this something like I have permission to do? You do. And this is why Capterra did a study right after ChatGPT came out, and they found that over 80% of marketers not only agree that AI is the key to the future, but it's actually better than humans. So marketers know this. And if we know this, it's completely fine to adapt. This is no longer a taboo thing. It used to be. AI used to be somewhat scary, taboo. If we said we were using it, you might not be hired. And there's still some of that, but the majority of marketing knows that we're at a place where AI is this good. So my human writing agency, I thought, did a lot of content. This is what we did, 10 million words a year. We had over 100 writers. This is what Content at Scale is producing. And it's all original, good content. 50 million words per month. We're literally doing 5 years of content production in 1 month. It's insane. So back then, the good old days, less than 2 years ago, this is what it took to do a major SEO content marketing campaign, one that brought in hundreds of thousands of visitors per month, which is the science I've lived in. How do we hit those traffic numbers that scale? So you needed a lot of writers. That is primarily what it took. You needed content, and content was a chore. Getting that done required so much time and effort. You had to find the writers, you had to hire them, you had to train them, you had to hope they hit deadlines. If they don't show up, maybe you're the one writing it. Does that sound familiar? So along with writers, you needed the other pieces. You needed either it was yourself or it was the writer, doubling, doing these things as well, strategy, research, editing, and then they needed to publish the content too. So there's a lot of work to do a content marketing campaign that actually brought you traffic. But this is what we're actually seeing. And what's incredible is I live in our users and what they're doing. So I've done so many case studies on our site. And what I'm seeing is this, and it's pretty incredible. One human matched up to the right AI can outperform, I'm not kidding you, like over 10 humans that don't have the right AI. It's incredible. So we have stories of one person running the machine, we call it, and doing all of these things. Because it does all of these things in the tool stack. It's not just an API call to ChatGPT, which is really important. You want to study the tools you're using and understand how they're built, because that gets you to the right output. So with one human running the machine, they're able to complete the strategy, the research, the writing, content generation, optimizing, and the distribution of up to 100 pieces a month. Insane. So I created this concept about a year ago, and it's called AIO. It's actually in the headlines of many LinkedIn writers I've seen, which is really cool. And the idea is that the human is now the optimizer. The human is taking the AI, using that content, and making it great. So we said about a year ago, goodbye SEO, hello AIO. I don't think that that's appropriate because SEO is not going anywhere. But the idea was, what is the SEO writer going to do now? Because it's a whole new role. They're going to use AI and optimize that AI content before it goes out. So this is the framework. This is wild. This is the framework I used to teach. And I'll show you the new framework I'm teaching as of 30 days ago. One thing you have to keep in mind as we think about AI and its capabilities is just how fast all of this is moving. You know, one day we could be looking at a certain set of steps, and then the next day, with the new release of what's coming, that set of steps could be completely invalid. We could be having to reinvent what we do. That's how fast AI is moving, because we're working on new computer chips. NVIDIA brought us to a new era of computing. So this is the framework I used to teach. It took you about 45 minutes to go through the content, cut the fluff, review the content, add images, fact check, and trust build. I'm here to tell you that that's dead. As of 30 days ago. You can automate this process too, which is absolutely wild. So this is the new framework I'm teaching, and it's called TAP. And it shows you the power of what you can do with AI, because it's literally, think of it like a tap when you have the right tool. You can publish that simply. Tap and get it out. So what does this stand for? Well, you're going to take a look at the content, human eyes on that content. Nothing replaces that, because these things can still go wrong no matter how good they are. So you still want to take a look at the content. Add images, visuals, and media. Really bring this to life. Sometimes that could be an embedded YouTube video. And then publish. It is that simple. And the reason that we're able to teach this, and I am a die-hard content creator, content has to be good, I'm very critical. I used to call myself a snobby writer. But the reason we're able to do this is because of all the processes that are automated inside our core product, which is called Rankwell by Content at Scale. So because we've built so many tech stacks, we've actually automated those processes in Craft that I was showing you a minute ago. So that's something the human no longer needs to do. And that's the reason for our slogan, which is on our shirts, straight out of AI, is that you don't actually need to do a lot of work. You can automate this. So let me show you some examples. One of our clients is NextCare. A lot of the content that goes out is content at scale generated. And this piece, one piece, ranks for 1,500 keywords. And it's driving over 3,000 visitors per month. This is another example from Content at Scale's Rankwell. This is for John Jantz. Does anyone know duct tape marketing? Yep. So he uses Content at Scale, big fan. And this piece is ranking in the top 3 of Google for a keyword fractional CMO certification, which is a high value keyword, brings in his ideal customers. And I'll tell you, John, I've asked him, like, what are you doing? And with the new updates, what I was showing you, Craft to Tap, that's because of a March update we released this year called Deep Research, where we rebuilt our whole process of how we crawl the web. So when I asked John, how are you editing your content? He's like, I barely am. I think I edited 2 words. And I was like, really? And it's ranking in the top 3 of Google. So pretty incredible. And then, of course, our site is built on our tool. What would we be if we weren't a case study of our own, of what we preach? So this piece ranks for 1,000 keywords. And it's getting over 100,000 impressions a month in Google. How much money can you make from writing a book? And of course, we're talking about how to use AI in that process. This is another example. This is for a service industry for the keyword. Do hoarders pay for the cleanup? There's a high volume search term. And it's linked to a service company. So this ranks in the top of Google globally for the keyword. And all the client did was add images. That's it. So if you find the right keyword, you run Rankwell, your work is significantly reduced. It's incredible to be a part of it and see this happen. So another piece, this is from NextCare, ranking for 1,700 keywords, driving 2,000 visitors a month. So a good question, a theme that I've heard in so many sessions, which I personally love, because I run a company called Content Hacker, which I sold to Content at Scale to get a stake in that company as a partner. A theme that I love is that long form really outperforms short form. And we really live in a short form world. There's TikTok, there's Instagram Reels. So we think, oh, we got to do short form. And then it's like a daily cycle. But the truth is, that's not the kind of content that drives lasting income. It's this content. It's long form content built on real estate you own that can rank for over 1,500 keywords and drive 3,000 visitors per month. And the crazy part is that we don't actually have to do all the work that used to take. And I lived in this for 10 years, and it took so much work and effort. The processes and the people that you needed to have were insane. So the fact we can automate this is unreal. Another feature that I love about what we do is that we actually link to our sources. So you can see that zoomed in example there. It's linking to a .gov site whenever it's talking about a medical claim. So it's going and finding these specific sources and linking to them in the content. It's showing you what those links are for full transparency. Sometimes whenever you're prompting a single LLM, for example, that would be Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, you don't really know where the sources come from. It could be completely bogus. You have to go check those manually and maybe even rewrite them. So this is a feature that I really love because you actually get to see where the content came from. And if you scan this QR code, you can actually see an example of content that we have on our shirts straight out of AI. So you can actually see how good it looks straight out of the machine. This goes to a Google Doc, but the system also directly integrates with your site, so you can publish straight from the tool. You don't have to export. Okay, so we can't end without asking this question. Is SEO dead? I present a bloody screen. And on my new slides, I don't know if Joe's in the audience, I missed this. This was supposed to be at the very beginning, but Joe Polizzi actually gave me a prediction back in 2017. I wrote a series of articles for Content Marketing Institute on the robots are here. And in this series, I was like, so these article spinners are complete garbage. The robots are here, but are they any good? And I basically said, like, AI will never take my job. And then Joe in the comments said, Julia, by the 2020s, I see AI writing 90 to 100% of the content. I can't believe how accurate he was, because here we are, 2024, and it's predicted that in the next 3 years, content that you see on the internet will be 90% AI. That's insane. So we have to be a part of this. It really is adapt or die. You see that in my LinkedIn headline, but that is the truth, because if we're not using AI, we will be outperformed by the people that are using AI. Okay, is SEO dead? Back to this. So Google brings in 80% of the world's online traffic. 8 billion searches a day happen at Google. This actually hasn't been impacted as much as we think by ChatGPT, because the behavior is still to Google it. That is such a piece of modern culture, and that's not going to shift. So what Google is doing is they're actually putting AI in search. So every site I've built or have been a major part of heavily depends on Google for search traffic and traffic in general. So this says the past 7 days, but this was the end of March to April. So this was the first week of April. This is our traffic. This is what we're getting from Google right now. It's going up, so we're at over 125,000 visitors per week, and we're getting insane ROI from that. The conversion rate looks like sometimes 30 to 40 customers per day, new customers per day. So I literally don't have to be on stage to generate income. I'm going to open Slack, we have a billing channel, and it's full of sales. That is what SEO traffic can do for you, and that is what it still can do for you. It's doing that for us today. This has been my #1 income stream for the last 10 years, is traffic from Google monetized through a product, service, or offering. So it's really powerful. So what's interesting, I've studied SGE a lot, like a good SEO-focused content marketer should, what's actually going on here. And what I've seen, doing a ton of searches, looking at the results, is that, and I've seen this validated by other SEOs as well, is that big sites are actually getting displaced in favor of niche sites. This is a new phenomenon. Usually it's been the sites with tons of domain authority, like Forbes, Entrepreneur, that always get the top of SERPs. But with SGE, it's niche sites that are actually winning. And they're getting multiple placements because of how SGE works. You get a carousel, and you get snippets of AI content above the blue links. So you can actually get multiple placements now. And if Google is displacing these big domains with niche sites, this is a win. So when I looked back at what's going on here, why is this occurring? In December of 2022, right after ChatGPT came out, Google added an extra E in EAT. Who knows EAT? Their page quality rater algorithm guidelines. So the extra E was for experience. And this is interesting, because the thing that the robots are going to have a hard time doing is replicating human experience in a human way. That's going to be very, very hard. And that's why we still want to take a look at the content, add in personal experience, because the robots you can train them. You can get them very close. We saw that with Drudini. And you can almost get them there, but your experience is quite often that little ingredient that separates robotic content from human-like content. And with RankWell, I'm spending all of 5 minutes adding in something personal to that content piece. So we don't have to put a ton of work in, but we still need to make it human-like. So this extra E in EAT corresponded to a huge update that Google launched in March of 2024 this year, so just less than 2 months ago, where they're affecting over 40% of spam on the web. And it's funny because you would think, wouldn't that be 100% of spam on the web? But no, it's just 40. There's still going to be spam on the web. But this is the biggest update to hit spam ever. And it's annihilating sites. And the target that Google has in this core update is low quality, unhelpful content. That's the kind of content that's going down. And what's interesting is our site actually went up, and it's predominantly built on AI content. So if you hear the myth, you can't use AI content, or your SEO will tank, that is just a myth. It's all in how you use it. So when Google talks about experience, this is what they actually say from the Search Quality Rater guidelines. They talk about a wealth of personal experience, people that have personal experience being shown first and foremost. And they talk about, what would you trust? Would you trust a review on a restaurant written by somebody who has never been there? They could have said by a robot who has never eaten at the restaurant. So there's a correlation here to how human-like your content sounds versus what the robot's limitations are, what AI's limitations are. So when Google focused on adding this extra E in, they also defined it as social media posts and forum content. And what's interesting is that was kind of a prediction of what was coming, because now we see Reddit and search, and that's going to be a part of SEO. We're actually working on a subreddit in our marketing, launching a plan for building a community on a subreddit. Did I ever think I'd be on Reddit in 2024? No, but here we are. So the highest E goes to creators, publishers that are uniquely authoritative go-to sources for a topic. That's where the dominoes will fall, to people that really present a wealth of experience with a high EAT. Experience, expertise, authority, trustworthiness. If you demonstrate that on your website, in your social content, you're gonna win. You're AI safe. So these are a couple content creators, a very good example. It's funny, I've tried to get them out to every conference because I'm like, John and Victoria, I'm going to promote you. We don't need to be there. We're making money from SEO. Okay, I can't debate that. So they rank in Google for which Hawaiian island to visit, and they always add the year after it. So this is an annual thing that they update and rank for. And they're also getting this new placement because of SGE. So they have the top blue link in organic results, but they also have a link in the SGE carousel, which is a grid of results you can click through. And that's a new link that they now have, an extra one, and it comes with a picture, a favicon of their website. It actually reminds me of Google authorship back in the day. I hated when Google took that away. It was literally my author face in search. And I was like, that's awesome. And then they took it away, Google. But how John and Victoria actually did this is with AI. So they doubled their content output, didn't add a single extra human, and they increased their traffic by 30%. And they're all about moderate, steady growth, which I think is relatable versus like, shoo, I'll show you another case study of that, shoo. So you can have that too, or you can have slow and steady growth without adding more humans. And this is growing their website, growing their traffic, growing their income. So here's an example of insane growth. This is Troy Erickson. He's a serial entrepreneur. He just sold the domain, copywriting.org, for many millions. I'll use Brian's favorite term. I love it. And how he built this domain was with content at scale. And this is wild. He didn't hire a single human writer. He didn't even use the machine at all, the machine meaning content at scale. He just gave it to his SEO guy. He's like, run posts. That was it. And what was insane was how quickly his domain authority grew, because this is still really an untapped idea of publishing content at scale with the right tool. So he shot up to, it would take you years if you were doing this humanly. So he did this with 70 long-form articles, which was around 200,000 words of content added to his site in 1.5 months. And it was one human optimizing that content, and this was stable. He was actually able to exit this domain because it was stable growth. And a growth like this, like, you're not going to get from ChatGPT or a single LLM, because the difference is that content isn't research-backed. It's not accurate. You're going to have to do all that work yourself or prompt it a bunch of times. And you're going to have to put in a lot more work to achieve content that ranks at the top of Google. Not rank well. It's going to give you that right out of the box. So here's another example, Marcus Campbell. He runs the YouTube channel Affiliate Marketing Dude, which is an awesome YouTube channel. And he generated over 1,000 blogs with content at scale. This guy went crazy. And 95% of those blogs had no human editing. And he saw substantial growth. Again, growth that was, I don't want to say permanent, because SEO is never permanent, but it was lasting. It stuck around. That traffic didn't just die off with the next Google update. So he was able to rank in the top of Google for keywords that had over 17,000 visitors per month. Keyword traffic that was substantial. These were informational keywords. And of course, Marcus has a specific domain per brand. So he's going after emoji keywords with an emoji domain. Very smart, clarity. So here's another example of a content agency that actually resold this. And this was a crazy story. So they were paying $1,800 a month for around 10,000 words of content. It could be debated because they couldn't really reach their writer Friday through Monday. That agency was like offline. And so whenever they switched to content at scales rank well, this was me hosting a Zoom training with them. That was the founder and the writer. And I just walked them through what rank well was, showed them the steps on how to use it. They saved 25 times the cost and time. It was insane. So they were able to run the machine for much less cost. And of course, you can turn it on at any time because AI is always there. I don't know if that's good or bad. But it's not like a human. You know, we're hungry, we're tired, and our creativity depends on how good we feel. And that's not AI, it's a machine. You can literally turn it on and off. So insane results using rank well. This is something that I like to land on all the time. Whenever we think about content that ranks at the top of Google and actually works, gets you traffic and paying subscribers and clients. Google says that they reward high quality content and they don't care how it's produced, but it has to be high quality. If it hits that benchmark, you're in the green zone. You're good, you don't need to overthink it. So this idea that we have of matching up AI with the human is a really powerful one because if that's how you think about it, you're gonna win. It really is that simple. How do you find the right AI and how do you guide it? I like the hand shaking the robot's hand. Because that's the idea, right? How do we actually find the right AI, partner with it, and achieve success in our business? So we really can just tap and go, like content is that simple. It's insane for me to even be up here saying that. And the founder, Justin McGill, who's really innovative, he's like, Julia, craft is gonna be completely automated one day. He told me that a year ago. I'm like, absolutely not. Not gonna happen. That is my human process and I will live and die by it. And here we are, it's dead. Wow, that's the world of AI. So you can have extreme results here and these are not fabricated. Like I think there's so much whenever you scroll YouTube and you look at AI and there's so much clickbait and there's so much fabrication. And it's really just for the sake of clicks and views. I've watched some of these videos, but this is true. This is actually happening. We have over 3,000 users, and I've done a ton of case studies. You can actually see them on this page. And it's incredible the wins that we're seeing and the time that people are saving, the time and the cost, because content really used to be the worst process in the world, says a content creator. And now it doesn't have to be. Creating SEO content that wins at the top of Google can actually be easy. And I can't believe I'm saying that. So if you go to this URL, there's actually a flyer in front of you can take home, and the QR code is the same. This will get you to a $50 trial where you can experience our system for 7 days. Go through it, see how it works, generate a post. That post is yours to keep. You can publish it straight to your website. So definitely take use of this and test it out. It will save you tons of time and money. But this is also where I want to land. This is important. We don't want to think about AI replacing us because in the end, we are actually the reason people buy. We want to think about AI augmenting us, taking us out of all the menial work that we never wanted to do anyway. That's how to think about it. So if you think about that, if that's your thought, you're thinking about AI correctly. People buy from people they trust, and this will not change. In the end, that's why people buy. So your goal is to let AI do the heavy lifting so you can be more present. And sometimes being present looks like taking a day off and not working so you can be more present the next day. So if you could just turn on a tool, give it a keyword, and say, write this content, and get a piece of content that could rank for 1,500 keywords, driving 3,000 visitors a month, what would that do for your business? Imagine the difference of that versus publishing short-form content. I love the point that I think Jay Klaus made yesterday. He's like, do you remember the tweet from 6 years ago? You don't. It's funny, though, because he had the screenshot of his tweet. So he did. It was a good tweet. But the truth is, you remember content that ranks because that's the kind of content that gets traffic. That's why it's remembered. People are still finding it. And it often does you more good later on than the day you published it. And long-form website content is really the only type of content you can say that about. Short-form has a death. Instagram, 18 minutes is the average life cycle. Website content, years. It can continue to rank. And honestly, that was a big part of my exit, was we had a website generating over 100,000 visitors per month organically, and I didn't need to go to trade shows. I didn't need to go show up. I wasn't tied to that business. That was a big reason for my exit. So I generated these images in Midjourney. They're they're kind of striking, but this idea is a good visual to take away as well. There's really two sides of AI. One is the risky side, and one is the beneficial side where we can actually have almost a utopia of sorts, where we can remove ourselves from meaningless work and do more meaningful things. But the risky side is dangerous, and I think it's the side, how I would define it today is when and this picture is pretty accurate, when we're holding on to the things that we don't want to let go of. Like if I continued to be a snobby writer, and I was like, we'll never automate craft, and I was still out there teaching that would not be very good. That would not serve my audience. And that wouldn't help me either, automate my own processes. So if you're that copywriter clinging to that keyword, it's time to let go to the robots. That picture is not that. I don't really want to give my keyboard to that robot. Anyway, so this is where I will wrap. You can scan the QR code or just save the paper, take it home. I definitely encourage you to check out the trial. There's no commitment you can cancel, but test it out, generate that post, see what it looks like, run it for a keyword, set it up with your domain. It's simple, it's like 6 steps. Generate that post, publish it, see if it ranks. I've had people tell me a week later, this content piece ranked, and I did absolutely nothing to it. And I'm like, isn't it magical? So absolutely, give us a test run, and we're always around to hear feedback. So if you have thoughts, feedback, the support team is actually, one of the support team members is here with me, John, over there. So you can always reach him in the chat box. Real humans, even though we are an AI company. Thank you so much. Appreciate being here.